Hi and welcome back to the BAFRA channel. My name is Susanna Taylor and I've been officiating with BAFRA since 2014, and in all of the years I've been officiating I've met many great people, I'm joined today by one of those fantastic people, my good friend Jed Brookes-Lewis. Hi Jed.
Hi Susanna.
It is so great to see you in lockdown, out here in the sunshine. Fantastic.
Yeah, lapping it up. We're lapping it up. I think we've all had a little bit of time off, and we're all taking that to maybe relax a little bit. Maybe it's strange without football, but we do what we can and we keep going, and we'll be back on the field in no time.
Indeed, I'm missing it as well.
Yeah,
My weekend routine has completely changed.
Yeah, mine too. Just lots and lots of baking, and that's my new talent.
Fantastic. So listen, Jed, I know you really well, but how about you introduce yourself to the world? Tell us a bit about your career as an official, your great memories, where you've been, where it's taken you.
Yeah, I mean, so my football journey starts back in 2008, I think, and I started playing junior tackle football in Redditch when they used to have a team, and I played there for a couple of years. I played in Birmingham for a year as well. Then I went off to university and I ended up breaking my ankle, and it was quite badly broken, so it was sort of like something that maybe would I want to keep playing with it or would I not. There was also the fact that I probably wasn't that particularly talented at football anyway, and that kind of caught up with me as well. So I decided that it's a game that I loved and it's something that I got so much from that I wanted to stay involved with it. And I had always ummed and ahed about maybe joining BAFRA because I refereed rugby before and had a little bit of officiating experience, and it was something that had played on my mind a little bit. And this was kind of the step that I took. So in January of 2011 I sent in my application, and sort of 9 and a bit years later, here we are. Since then I think I've been very much involved, both tackle football, which is what most people joining BAFRA go straight into, but also pretty much from day one of my involvement from BAFRA, flag football's been a pretty big passion of mine, and developing flag football and being able to support it. And I love flag because it's such a grassroots version of the sport. It's something that's so much easier accessible for players. With tackle you need these big squads and you need all sorts of stuff going on to organize a game, whereas with flag it's almost like that jumpers for goalposts cliche that people use when they're talking about soccer. You can just put some cones down, you got 10 people, then you can have a game of flag football. And that's always really appealed to me, that accessibility of it, and the fact that it makes it a good way for like kids to get involved with the game. That's where very much I cut my teeth with flag football, was working the junior, youth and cadet sort of tournaments, and that's where I gained my absolute passion for it as well. It's really accessible. It's kind of a game very much for all sort of shapes and sizes, because sometimes with tackle football you can get a little bit if you're not big enough, you just you're not useful enough really. Whereas with flag football, if you're small, if you're if you're a little bit slow, if you're a little bit fast, anyone can play flag football and anyone can be successful on it. You're not just basing it purely on the fact that someone was born, and has managed to develop, really good muscle or whatever. It can be a little bit more accessible for those people, for everyone as well. And that's one of the things that really appeals to me as well. I obviously I've officiated for the last sort of nearly 10 years now. I also played a little bit of flag football, just to sort of prove to myself that I still had it, as it were. And then, I've also had some amazing opportunities sort of come my way. And that's from, a lot of the work that I've been doing with flag. So I've had the opportunity to go to European and World Championships and had some amazing experiences as a part of that. I think my first one was back in 2015 when I went to Spain for the European Championships. I then got to go to Miami in 2016 for the World Championships, in Copenhagen in 2017 for the Euros. In 2018, I went to Panama for the Worlds. And then in 2019, I went to Israel for the European Championships. So some really cool locations. Managed to do a lot of traveling, and it's, you know, something that is an absolute passion to me. And the fact that something that's my hobby, and I'm just, you know, at the end of the day, this isn't my job. This is just something I do because I love doing it. And the fact that my hobby has basically given me the ability to see these amazing places, to meet all these amazing people. I have so many friends all around the world now, and it's all just come from, you know, working at football and, you know, building up that officiating knowledge and getting these opportunities. So, you know, I am so like thankful.
So happy, yeah.
Yeah,
and,
so
and,
happy.
You know, I really am getting your passion for this. This is not something that you do because academically it keeps you occupied. This is something that has really touched your heart, and I know a lot of people who are involved in flag football, and it's the same for everybody. It's really something that really captures the imagination. And like you know, you say there's people who get to play flag football that perhaps would never play tackle.
Oh God, yeah, exactly, yeah. And that, you know, I said that accessibility is so good for it. Sorry, Susanna.
Yeah, people play but choose not to.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to get injured like you did, and you know, they want to avoid that heavy risk. But you know, for those people out there who don't know anything about flag football, it's essentially the basic premise of tackle football, but without tackling. Yeah. It's a non-contact sport. But you know, tell us a bit, you know, just 101 stuff.
And I mean, it's you know, I always look at it as like taking the, you know, the exciting, you know, stripping it back to its bare bones with those really sort of like, you know, those big catches, you know, like good passing, and, you know, those real sort of fundamentals. And that's really what it is. Now, you know, it's quite a simple sport to understand. You start with the ball on your 5-yard line, you get 4 downs to try and get past halfway, and then you get 4 downs to score. Obviously, as you said, you know, it's non-contact. There's always maybe a little bit of contact in it. I mean, that's kind of where the officials come in and have to decide what's an acceptable level of contact and what isn't. But, you know, it's a very straightforward game. If you have even, you know, sort of seen an American football game once in your life, you can watch some flag football, you can pick it up and basically start understanding the, you know, the fundamentals behind it quite easily. You know, it's quite similar to, you know, with rugby, they have touch rugby, and it's a very similar sort of concept to that, as it maintains, you know, a lot of the fundamentals of the Big Brother sport, you know, if you want to call it that or whatever, but then, you know, delivers it into a sort of non-contact format.
Brilliant. So accessible for very many people.
Yeah.
But so what I want to know more about now is, you know, I know that you're working on a lot of projects around officiating flag football particularly. This is an area that you're passionate about and you've built up a great deal of knowledge about. And I know that you've been working on some projects over the past couple of years. So tell me a bit more about officiating flag in general and what you've been working on up until now in terms of training officials.
Yeah, so with the you know, the nature of the sport in the UK at the moment, it's primarily officiated by team officials, so people from the teams. You know, there'll be 3 or 4 teams on a game day. The team who hasn't got a game will then, you know, cover the other games that are going on at the time. And, you know, I think that it's great because it kind of like, you know, saves having to get loads and loads of, you know, specially trained people in. But there's always a concern that, you know, do the people who are officiating the games know the rules exactly? And, you know, what I'm keen to do is make sure that there is this base level of knowledge of the sport, you know, across all teams, across all, you know, players, so that there is anyone who's, you know, asked to and has, you know, sat a course or whatever, can be able to just say, right, yeah, I can officiate that game. And, you know, a few years ago, I was tasked with delivering a series of courses for BAFA, you know, around the country, and it was basically to promote this sort of base standard of officiating knowledge, of rules knowledge, so that people, you know, can deliver games safely. Because at the end of the day, you know, I mean, I think there's no point me sitting there and spending hours talking about the minutiae of, you know, pass interference or something with a course. At the end of the day, the primary job should be get people to a point where they can deliver a game safely and fairly. And at the end of the day, that's the end. You know, people will make mistakes and, you know, that's fine, whatever. But at the end of the day, we want to get it to a point where people can just officiate the game and it will be safe, which is our number 1 priority, obviously. And it will be fair, which is obviously a major priority as well. So that all sort of everything that I've been working on sort of stemmed from, you know, a few years back when I delivered these 6 courses, and I was all the way up in Edinburgh, and then all the way down to Basingstoke, so all over the country to, you know, deliver these. And it was great to have that time and interact with so many different you know, players. And, you know, it's interesting to hear how people have been doing stuff in the, you know, themselves. And then, you know, my kind of job is there to almost like standardize that. So, you know, whether you are, you know, up in Aberdeen or down, you know, on the south coast or something, if you are playing a game of football, the officiating will be the same. And that's what I, you know, that's what I aim to, my aim going into delivering those courses was to try and ensure that we are delivering a specific level of consistency throughout the sport. So I kind of, you know, that was a few years ago, and then been working on, you know, a bit more ad hoc. That was very much, we had 6 courses to deliver, and we delivered them over, I think it was a period of 5 weeks or whatever, 6 weeks. And then since then, there have been the occasional courses here and there where I've been doing them. Some of them have been in preparation for specific tournaments. So I delivered some before the Women's Opal Series tournaments to, you know, try and make sure there are a few more people there who, you know, sort of understood what was going on and could step up to officiate games if required. And now we're at a point where I think we're looking at, you know, different ways of, you know, further developing that training, because I think there needs to be a clear pathway to help people develop. You know, it's all well and good me going and delivering a course, but, you know, people will very fairly then ask, what now? You know, I mean, I've done this course, great, you know, is there anything else I need to do? And what I am super keen to develop is, I want there to be a pathway so that people can actually start, you know, understanding, because I know how great it made me feel being able to go abroad and to, you know, work at these international tournaments. It's fantastic, and I want other people to have that opportunity, and I want there to be a way for those people to be able to get into it and be able to understand it, because, you know, obviously it's great for them, and it will also push me to be better as well. And, you know, I think that's such a beneficial part of it, is being, you know, working alongside people who are as passionate as you are, and, you know, pushing you and you push them, and it just causes you to improve and improve and improve. So that's kind of where, you know, I want us to be going in the future. I think, you know, what we have on the horizon at the moment is I sort of been tasked with creating a series of sort of online like training videos for, you know, different aspects of flag. And, yeah, I think obviously we have a lot of time on our hands at the moment. You know, we don't have football in the weekend, and that's something where, you know, I've, you know, been asked to take this and start developing a sort of training program, and that should be able to give, you know, people that next step of knowledge. You know, it won't just have been me rambling on at a course, but it will be, you know, you can look up specific like videos about specific rules or about how to work the mechanics for a certain position on the field, and, you know, go from there. So that's kind of like, you know, where we want it to be. You know, obviously the big sort of elephant in the room at the moment is, you know, the tackle season has been cancelled, but, you know, there is still a possibility, you know, that there will be a flag football season at some point this year, and I'm hoping this almost provides us, you know, with an opportunity to deliver some more of those courses, deliver some more of that knowledge, help build that knowledge, and, you know, hopefully give people more of an opportunity to be officiating flag football. So, you know, well, you know, they say every door closes, you know, there's another one opening, and, you know, hopefully, you know, we can take advantage of this, you know, pretty rubbish situation that we've been stuck in. But, you know, if we can get, you know, if we get a flag season, then, you know, I would be super excited to see what we can do with officiating there. If there are any sort of possibilities there, you know, I would love to be able to, you know, see what we can do there.
Okay, this is really exciting. So, you know, we're talking about taking people who have got that base level of training, either from yourself or, you know, other BAFRA officials who've done a little bit of flag officiating, who want to take themselves up a level in flag. And, you know, I really wanted to sort of give it that flavour, because I think perhaps players and coaches out there don't realise, you know, there being such a difference between officiating tackle and flag. We don't go into officiating flag just like, you know, oh yeah, we know how to do that. We do actually do some training to learn the mechanics, the specific rules, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
As you were saying earlier about what level of contact is okay, because of course in tackle football, almost every bit of contact is okay until it's not. Whereas in flag, it's the opposite way round. It's like, let's see if I see some contact, I'm paying attention to it because it's quite likely not to be okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're taking those people who've started there and have that ambition, or people who love the sport like you do, like I do, who want to see it develop, and are maybe inspired by the idea that, you know, flag is really an international level sport, and it's incredibly competitive all over the world. It being so accessible, I believe personally that countries that can't afford yet to get involved in the tackle side may well be able to put together really competitive flag teams. So those international competitions are truly worldwide. So that's the pinnacle of where we can get to with this.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, you say that and you've hit the nail on the head there, because like I remember in the World Championships in 2018 when we were in Panama, there were teams, you know, obviously it's World Championships, but we had people, you know, obviously you had people like the USA and Canada there, but then you have people like, you know, Guatemala and India having teams, and there's all these countries where, you know, you wouldn't think about, you know, them having, you know, a flag football team or whatever, but it's so accessible that they can send, you know, people to these competitions. And that is why I love it so much, is because it is a way of getting people involved in this sport, and it's just such an accessible way of being able to drive that, you know, forward.
Definitely. So tell me a bit more about these online courses that you are designing. You know, what's the sort of format? When will they be available? And if I wanted to sign up, how would I go about doing that?
So at the moment, I think it's still something of a concept. You know, I mean, like, we are looking, you know, I don't know how it's going to work, but, you know, further down the line, I think. But, you know, I can talk a little bit about sort of my ideas for it and where it's going, you know, from my standpoint. And what I've looked to do is create a series of sort of videos. I think that's always a good way of, you know, sort of interacting with people, you know, is having that video content, and it's so sort of beneficial, you know, and we know that as officials, we watch film all the time, and, you know, it's the best way to learn. So what I've sort of looked to do is create little videos for each sort of position that you'll work on the field, focusing on the mechanics side of things, what you should be looking at, where you should be looking, what fouls might be happening where you are, and how you should be moving in response to what's happening on the plays. And then what I've also looked to do is create different videos for all the sorts of types of fouls that you'll see in flag football. Now, you know, obviously the big one there is talking about contact and talking about stuff like pass interference, but, you know, there's lots and lots of also, like, you know, little flag specific rules that perhaps, you know, someone who's a tackle official, you know, understands the basic sort of concepts of officiating. You know, I mean, that's there's a certain amount of it that is transferable, and I understand that, you know, transferable from when I was refereeing rugby. You know, a lot of that, you know, the person skills transfer over, but then there's little bits and pieces, and especially with flags, there are like very quite specific rules that it's important for, you know, people to know. And I want to create, you know, videos focusing more on those and talking about the more technical details of that. How it will all then be available, I'm not 100% sure, but, you know, I want this to very much be like a library of reference where people can just go in and be like, right, I want to watch this video and it will teach me how to do these specific things.
Brilliant. So what I figure is, as you're working on this, the flag football community out there will probably be listening to this and watching this video right here and be starting to get interested. So anybody out there who is interested in taking a look at this course, this online course, just make sure that you're following us on Facebook, that's at Bafra Official, or on Twitter at Bafra Official, or also Instagram, that's at Bafra_official. Keep in touch with us that way, and we'll be promoting this course and these materials out on those platforms. So keep an eye out, everybody. So really brilliant, Jed. I'm really pleased that you're taking the lead on this project, because I know that your passion and your skill and your knowledge, you're such a student of officiating and a student of the game. I know this is going to be really excellent quality, and the world of flag football will be very interested in what you're doing. So, you know, really looking forward to seeing that. But in the meantime, like, what's keeping you busy whilst we're not allowed to get out there on the field?
As I said, I've done a lot of baking. officiating. I've looked at a pair of running shoes and then thought, nah, I can't be bothered. I've made myself busy, you know, fixing odds and sods around the house. But yeah, you know, I mean, just itching to get out there in any capacity would do me now. You know, I mean, I dream of the day that we all manage to step back on that field, and it will come one day, and it will, you know, I say, you know, it'll be the happiest day of my life. My wife might, you know, have questions about that, about, you know, with our wedding day, but we'll see about that when we get there.
That's it. We will not mention it.
We won't mention that bit. No.
Second best. So
Second best.
Listen, I'm really looking forward to getting back on the field as well, Jed. I hope that you and I get to officiate together again. We did once and I loved it. So one day again, I hope we get to do that. Until then, thank you so much for your time, so much for your enthusiasm, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Susanna.